Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got another book review for you today. This is on a really good book, but it's controversial, yet I want to explain to you why I think you should read this book anyway, even if you don't agree with the theology in this book, because it is a very impactful book, and I haven't been able to find one that has these same kind of concepts. What I'm talking about is a book called Boundaries. Now, I've recommended this book a lot. I just reread this book. I forgot how much theology, Christian theology, was in this book. And so now I'm a little bit like, wow, I should have been warning people when I recommended this book. So I'm giving you the warning now. I'm telling you now why that even though you might not be Christian, you might be atheist or agnostic or whatever, or a different religion, totally fine. I still think you should read this book, right? As far as myself, right, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of, I don't want to say that. I'm sort of in an interesting place from a theological perspective right now. So but I still find a huge amount of value in this book, if that makes sense to you. I'm not saying, I don't really want to get into the details of where I am religiously right now, but my mind has expanded a lot more since I have been really delving into personal growth and really just exploring and helping people and experiencing the world a little bit more. But with that said, let's talk about the book, because that's what we're here to talk about today. So this book is very, very good at helping you to realize where you need to have boundaries in life. And yes, there's a lot of Christian theology in this book, but it doesn't matter. These concepts are very universal, and so I would hate for people to miss out on this book just because they disagree with the Christian theology part of it. And part of the reason why, now, if you are a Christian and you are reading this book, I think it's going to help you a lot, because sometimes there's a lot of pressure from other Christians and organizations and whatnot for you to behave or act a certain way, and that pressure tends to violate your boundaries. You tend to be guilted into things. And I know, coming from a Christian background, that can be definitely the case. So it's still a good book either way, right? But if you're not Christian and you're reading this book, again, I would say just read the book and don't worry about the theology part of it. There's still some good lessons. There's still a lot of good content in here. I'm giving that big warning because I want you to read this book, because most people need to read this book, because most of us do not properly set boundaries and understand boundaries in our life. I've done some videos on on your parents, basically why you shouldn't be guilted by your parents, and on why you shouldn't give your family money and things like that. And a lot of this has to do with boundaries. And if you don't understand this, right, most of us grow up in families where boundaries are violated, where guilt is the mechanism of operation, where you have expectations put on you and you put expectations on other people and you obligate them, right? I did this video on expectations and obligations, which you should definitely check out. But a lot of that can be cured by understanding what proper boundaries are and what you should actually implement in terms of boundaries in your life, right? And that's what this book does, is it goes through and it systematically looks at all the different kinds of boundary problems that people have in their lives. It looks at why you're feeling guilty. It looks at what makes sense for you as a human being. Like, where's the line? Where should it be? Should you just be selfish and not help anyone? No, that's not true. But at the same time, you shouldn't be obligated. You shouldn't do things out of guilt. You should do things because you want to do them, which I think most major religions teach some version of this concept, right? And it's yeah, so it's a book that I definitely recommend that you read, especially if you have problems with your family, especially if you feel like you're a pushover, that people take advantage of you, or maybe you're a little too aggressive and people tend to shy away from you, or you feel like people let you down all the time. If you have any of those things, right, most of us have at least one of those things, you should definitely read this book. And again, like I said, just if you don't agree with the theology part of it, that's totally fine. I totally understand that. But I can't find another book to recommend you that doesn't have that part of it. And you might gain some value from it, honestly. Like so give it a chance. I definitely recommend it. It's one of those books that I feel like everyone has to read from a psychology perspective, because if you don't understand this kind of stuff, you're going to be living in pain all the time. You're always going to be feeling guilty. You're always going to be letting other people rule over your life and control your actions, or you're going to be putting expectations on other people, and they're going to be letting you down, and you're going to be feeling bad about that all the time. So check out the book. It's called Boundaries. Again, I've got the audio version I listen to. There's quite a few versions of this book, but make sure you get the full version of the book. And let me know what you think if you've read this. Again, I apologize to you, those of you that I've recommended this book in the past, and I didn't even think to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm recommending this book, but I should give you a warning that it has a very theological basis. So there you have it. There's the warning, but it's still a good book, still highly recommended. So check it out. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. You'll get all the reviews that I do, plus all the other videos I do, about 2 to 3 videos a day. You don't have to watch them all, but you can collect them all if you click subscribe. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.